he doesn't have too much time, not too much time. Yes, God bless, not too much time.
I'm younger than Putin. He doesn't have much time, said Zelenskyy. Rubio details Washington's role in the war in Ukraine and how Russia gains more at negotiating table than on battlefield. The latest news next. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has outlined 3 key steps he believes could help US President Donald Trump halt Russian aggression and ensure lasting peace for Ukraine. 3-step plan. The Ukrainian leader emphasized that the US President should act independently of Moscow. His top priority is providing Ukraine with strong security guarantees.
I think so. He has to give us security guarantees, strong security guarantees without dialogue with Putin, because it's security guarantees of President of the United States.
The second step is to implement a plan to rebuild Ukraine, which the President called a necessary condition for returning to a peaceful life.
Give us the package of reconstruction of Ukraine. It's the second step that we will renovate. It's mean that the peace will come. And
the next stage involves directly demanding that Moscow stop its attacks.
To call Putin and say, look, you have to stop where you now. We have to freeze the conflict now. And then we will meet trilaterally on the level of leaders, and we will manage how to finish this war.
Ultimatum and total sanctions. If Russian dictator Vladimir Putin refuses to meet these conditions, the US should step up support for Ukraine and impose unprecedented restrictions on the aggressor, including a full blockade of Russia's energy sector.
If Putin will say no, President Trump has to give us everything what we need to save us and to defend us and to stay strong. But I think that we need to finish the war, not to continue, this war, not to continue this fighting. That's why I think he can do it. Total sanctions. It's been total. If it's on energy, can you imagine? Yes, President Trump made, by the way, strong steps. We are thankful to him on Lukoil. He put sanctions on Lukoil. He can put on all their energy, on nuclear energy.
He also urged Western partners to personally pressure Russia's elites, including expelling their relatives living or studying in democratic countries. Europe must back Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelenskyy previously noted that Europe's lack of a unified position on ending the war only benefits Russia. He stressed that Ukraine will not make territorial concessions, as the greatest compromise Kyiv is offering is its willingness to negotiate, provided there are strong security guarantees. Meanwhile, Poland has emphasized that the EU must take an active role in future talks with Russia to prevent decisions from being made behind Ukrainians' back. This position is also supported by Estonia and Latvia, which call for Europe to reclaim a leadership role in ensuring regional stability and increasing pressure on the Kremlin. Ukrainian's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has stressed that he is younger than Kremlin dictator Vladimir Putin and that Putin does not have much time, reported Zelenskyy in an interview with Politico at the Munich Security Conference.
I think Putin also in a difficult position, because I can speak with you and shake hands, and I don't afraid, and I want to be free, and I want to change. After politics, after everything, I want to...
And you're here.
Yes, I'm here, you see? Can you imagine? So I'm a free person, and I think that, and I'm younger than Putin, No, believe me, this is important. He doesn't have too much time, not too much time. Yes, God bless.
Speaking about possible elections in Ukraine, Zelenskyy said that 90% of Ukrainians oppose elections being held during the war.
It's interesting that you know that 90% against elections now, 90% of Ukraine. If it's interesting for somebody what Ukrainians think.
Asked how exactly Trump should exert pressure on Putin, Zelenskyy named 3 steps. As we said, ensure Ukraine has strong security guarantees, provide a recovery package, and call Putin to tell him to stop where you are now. But if Putin says no, President Trump has to give us everything we need to save ourselves and defend ourselves and stay strong. But I think that we need to finish the war, not continue fighting. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy called on the relatives of Russian officials to return from European countries to Russia.
Total sanctions means total. President Trump took strong steps sanctioning Lukoil and Rosneft. We are thankful to him. He can sanction all of their energy, in particular nuclear energy. And it will be a powerful message to the Europeans.
According to him, Europeans have done a lot, but they have not yet imposed sanctions against Russia's nuclear energy sector officials and their relatives. The children who live on this money in Europe, in the United States, who pay for their studies at European universities with these profits, who own real estate in the United States.
Find a way to Russia. Go home. You don't respect anybody in the United States. You don't respect the rules. You don't respect democracy. You don't respect Ukraine or Europe. Go home.
About Ukraine strengthens sanctions against Russian officials and propagandists. Earlier, Zelenskyy reported that he had already signed a new sanctions decision aimed at individuals who justify Russian aggression and are used by the Kremlin for propaganda purposes. The first sanctions against Russia in 2026 were large-scale restrictions against Russians and their accomplices. Zelenskyy signed the corresponding decree enacting the National Security and Defense Council's decision on imposing sanctions against 95 individuals and 70 legal entities, most of whom are citizens and residents of Russia. Washington's role is to help bring an end to the bloody and deadly war in Ukraine, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said during a joint press conference with Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico.
We view the United States' role as one to try to facilitate the end to a very deadly, very bloody, and very costly war. There is horrible suffering. The deaths, regardless of what the numbers are on both sides, way too high.
He also highlighted the dire situation in Kyiv, pointing to the lack of electricity and heating during the coldest time of the year. Rubio added that President Donald Trump spent the past year exploring whether Washington could act as a mediator to negotiate peace.
The president has spent a year at the highest levels of our government trying to define whether we can be facilitators of a negotiated end to this terrible conflict.
U.S. aims to end the war in Ukraine by summer. The U.S. under Trump's administration has been trying to end the war in Ukraine for over a year, but progress on formal peace documents only began in November 2025. Initially, a 28-point peace plan was streamlined into a 20-point plan, which includes security guarantees and measures for Ukrainians' economic recovery. While much of the plan is ready, the most sensitive issues remain Donbass and the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. Recent reports suggested that Ukraine is preparing for presidential elections and a referendum on a peace deal. Sources cited by the Financial Times say the Trump administration wants both votes completed by May 15th, warning that failing to do so could jeopardize Ukrainians' proposed security guarantees. Reuters also reported that Ukraine and the US have discussed signing a peace agreement with Russia as early as March. Ukrainian officials have denied the Financial Times report, while President Volodymyr Zelenskyy publicly confirmed that the US aims to end the war by June. In addition, Ukraine's president said that a referendum on a peace deal could be held in the coming month and that elections could take place if Washington ensures a 2-month ceasefire. In 2026, Ukraine, the US and Russia held 3 rounds of trilateral talks. The first 2 took place in Abu Dhabi in January and February, with the third scheduled for February 17th to 18th in Geneva. President Zelenskyy announced that discussions will focus on how a monitoring mission would operate in the event of a ceasefire, and that Kyiv will raise the question of an energy truce. Kallas, EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, has said that the greatest threat posed by Russia is that it is gaining more at the negotiating table than it has achieved on the battlefield. Reported by Kallas' speech at the Munich Security Conference. Kallas noted that Russia has barely advanced beyond the 2014 front line at the cost of 1.2 million casualties, while Moscow is making unrealistic demands in negotiations.
Today, Russia is broken. Its economy is in shreds. It is disconnected from the European energy markets, and its own citizens are fleeing. In fact, the greatest threat Russia presents right now is that it gains more at the negotiation table than it has achieved on the battlefield.
Kallas added that what matters is not merely having a seat at the negotiating table, but understanding what should be negotiated.
How we see it is very simple. Russia's maximalist demands cannot be met with minimalist response. Think about it. If Ukraine's military is to be limited in size, Russia should be too. Where Russia has caused damage in Ukraine, Russia should pay.
Kallas said that compensation for the damage inflicted on Ukraine, the return of deported Ukrainian children, and no amnesty for war crimes constitute the minimum Russia must accept if it genuinely seeks peace. She added that as Europe does not see readiness for negotiations from the Kremlin, it will continue rearmament. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.